Thank you. You're too kind. Wow, what a bad night. I bought a flashlight. I put the batteries in backwards. I sucked all the light out of the room. Ha! Did you hear about the guy who wouldn't eat snails? He prefers fast food. Ha! Get it? Here's something you at home will enjoy. Oh, Mr. Lippman makes this look so easy. It's the 35th anniversary of Welcome Freshmen. Ah! Oh.
Welcome to Splat Attack, a 90s podcast honoring the slime-filled past. I'm your safety tortoise, Kat.
And I'm your mystery meat rock star, Alex. And Kat, what are we doing in the classroom? We're not doing a character study today.
Well, I know, but we are gathering a bunch of the Welcome Freshmen cast and crew for a retrospective to celebrate the show's 35th anniversary. So, I thought the classroom fit the vibe.
Well, there's the bell. Looks like everyone is filing in now. So let's do a roll call and see who all's here. Introduce yourselves and tell us how you were involved with the show and creation of it and all that good stuff.
Gladly. My name is Brock Bradley, and I played Grant Kelly on seasons 3 and 4 of Welcome Freshmen. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you for everything you do to keep this culture alive and give people a forum to talk about this really exciting and amazing, unforgettable time in many of our lives. So I appreciate you.
I am Rick Galloway. I played Walter on Welcome Freshmen, and I had nothing to do with the creation of it. But there are some of the creators, or a creator here for sure. And I am just overjoyed to be in the same space with some people that I haven't seen in a very long time. So thank you, Alex. I was Walter for all seasons, but not the pilot. If you want to discuss that, we can. I'm not bitter over it at all.
Hey, I'm Bob Mittenthal. I was the showrunner and creator of Welcome Freshmen. I think more people watched Splat Attack than actually watched Welcome Freshmen. So,
I don't know about that.
No.
I don't know about that.
Well, there was less opportunity. I mean, you had to be in a special place financially to own cable in that era, and it was a very limited genre, if you will.
Yeah, my name's Dave Rhoden. I played Merv for 2.5 years on Welcome Freshmen, 26 episodes, season 1 and 2.
Hi there. I am Mike Speller. I was the end product of the creation, had nothing to do with the startup, but I was Mr. Lippman on the series. And I just want to say thank you for sponsoring the only class reunion I've ever attended in my life.
Big. That's big.
Thank you for attending.
I'm Jocelyn, and I played Alex Moore on all 5 seasons of Welcome Freshmen, and it is so cool to see everybody here. Thank you, Alex and Kat, for putting this together.
I'm Jason McMahan. I played Glen Craven on one episode called Aaron for Office.
Hi, everybody. Mike Rubiner. I don't know if you guys will remember me. I remember you, but I was a writer on the show and then some sort of producer at some point. I think I was on maybe seasons 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. It was quite a while ago, but a great time.
Hi, everyone. Tracy Frenkel. I had the pleasure of torturing the entire cast as Coach Roach and Coach Rochelle on the show. It was a blast for me. Really enjoyed the cast, and the creators were all wonderful. The sidebars with them were always a hoot as well. So great to see all the old faces now that were so young back then. Nothing meant badly by that, by the way, but Mike, great to see you, buddy. It's been a long time.
Good to see a member of my peer group. Yeah.
Yeah, here. Right, and a fellow Chicagoan too. You did some time up there in Chicago too. So wonderful to be all with you. And Alex, thanks for having us. And Rick, thanks for bringing me back on board by referring me back in.
Hey, I'm Jill Setter. I played Tara. And it was a great time, and it's so cool to see you guys. Thank you all for doing this. It's great.
Hi, everyone. My name is Arian Ash. I played Erin Kelly on seasons 3 and 4 of Welcome Freshmen, one of the most special times of my life. And thank you. Yes, Mike Speller said this was the only class reunion he's ever been to. So, very, very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us. It is so cool to see everyone.
Well, a big thank you to everyone for being here. I'm very excited about this. I will say, for the record, there were a couple of people who wanted to be here for the main recording, which not everybody could be here. Chris Loban really wanted to be here, but he had a scheduling snafu and couldn't make it. And Dave Rhoden, we actually got to do a recording previously, so we'll be inserting his footage here. The only reason I mention it is because a lot of times when we have these big cast interviews, the conversation just flows, and then insert footage. So it might be a little bit of a different flow, but I want to have everyone here as much as we can. But Welcome Freshmen, we have had the opportunity to discuss the show a few times on the show previously. If you have not seen those, go check them out. We've had the cast almost every episode, and it just keeps getting bigger. This is the most we've had. This might be the most we've had on a single show. It's up there. I don't know if this beats the Are You Afraid of the Dark and Roundhouse ones.
I was just going to ask how big the Are You Afraid of the Dark and Roundhouse discussions were.
Well, we'll put it in the text down below, but I'm going to shut up now because I want to hear from everybody. So we'll just start with throwing this over to Bob. What sparked the beginning of the show? How did Welcome Freshmen get started?
Oh, I didn't know you were going to ask a hard one. But, Nickelodeon at the time, it was run kind of like a college radio station. You could kind of say hey, I got an idea. And they'd say it's going to cost a lot of money. And I'm like, no. And they're like, all right, go do it. And Mike Rubiner and I actually grew up together in Michigan. And, that period of my life was a really very painful period, and I got through it through humor. And I thought that kids might feel the same way and would enjoy being able to sort of have a show like Welcome Freshmen to kind of have something make us feel like it isn't that awful. I think I was probably wrong about that, but they still let us make the show, and we had a great time. And I just watched Aaron for Office today because I wanted to know who Jason McMahan was, and it really, I felt like it really held up. I thought it was great. I laughed out loud. I was really proud of it. So kudos to all you guys.
As for the rest of you, some of these questions may be repeat questions because we have covered the show a couple of times, and as I said, we have repeat people here. But if we're going to have new stories, I know we're going to have new stories. So for the rest of you, feel free to chime in. What was the audition process like for you guys?
A nervous wreck. But then the answering machine, when Mom played the voice message, the answering machine back then, and said we got the part, it was, it's just, you're ecstatic. It was great. And then all the nerves start rolling oh my gosh. And it was fun. I mean, I just remember being nervous always to know my lines and all that stuff. But everyone was so cool. And I just have, I don't know. I don't have anything bad to say.
Yeah. So I had done some modeling as a kid. I'd done a little bit of acting here and there. And then I was at Winter Park High School, 9th grade center. They made an announcement over the intercom. Anybody who wants to stick around after school today, they're going to have auditions for a Nickelodeon show. I ran up to the office, called my mom, said, "Hey, is it okay if I stick around?" She's like, "Yeah, go ahead." So did the auditions after school. I hit it off with the casting director right away because I had just gotten my open water dive certification that summer. He was a diver, and we just kind of seemed to connect. In fact, a little interesting fact, I actually started auditioning for Walter, kind of the dumb surfer at the very beginning, and actually all the way to the very end. So, get callbacks. And then I think the very last reading, they had me read for Merv, and they had me read with Alex. Jocelyn and Bob Mittenthal was in the room. A few other people were in the room, and they basically asked us to make up our own lines for a scene. And I guess whatever I said was right. I remember Bob laughing, and Alex, she's got a photographic memory. Jocelyn does, and so she could read something one time and have it verbatim. And I'm like, she says there's a long paragraph, and I'm like, great, or something, it was like a one-word answer basically, and whatever it was the right thing. Bob laughed, and from that point on, I was Merv. I will tell you, it didn't sink in what kind of character I was playing. To me, it was just Merv on a paper until wardrobe. And I remember coming in one day and trying on the clothes, and I came out and I'm like, "Hey, the shirt seems to fit, but the pants are a little short and tight." They're like, "Nope, that's just right." And I was like, I'm a nerd. I didn't, this light bulb went off. And I'm like, ooh, that's the moment of, when it kind of all sunk in for me.
Were most of you local to Orlando?
Chris and I we carpooled to the studios after high school every day together. So we went to the same high school.
Yeah, Bob, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a huge talent search for it. I'm not sure if it went outside of Florida, but it was Welcome Freshmen not like a vehicle for the studio tour that was to happen there? And they needed something to happen over the summer, and there was a couple of different outliers that kind of made it all work, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Nickelodeon was building, the studio as part of the Universal Studios tour, and they had to have production going on pretty much constantly, which may have been sort of part of their motivation for letting me do this show. And it was not easy to find you guys. It was a real. I mean, we searched and searched, and we were lucky to find most of you in our backyard. But we did search. Maybe not nationally, but I think we looked at kids in New York. We looked at kids in LA. We looked at kids in Atlanta. I don't think they wanted to pay to put people up with their parents and stuff like that. So we were very happy to find kids that we thought could do the job that were local. So that was a blessing.
I was just going to say, I remember the audition process being very long. I think I auditioned in the summer of 1990, in May or June. And as a child actor, you're taught or you're encouraged to walk into the audition room, deliver your best, walk out and forget about it. Because you'll go to 30 auditions and never get a call back. That's just kind of the norm. And I remember, I think it was October. I could be misremembering. It was 38 years ago, but I feel like it was several months had gone by and I got a call back. And I was like, what was that for? And so I went to the callback, and it was, I will say to their credit, to the casting credit, very shortly after the callback, I was made the offer, but in my initial audition and the callback was months went by, and I had completely forgotten about it. So super grateful, though, that
yeah.
they found
I remember the pilot auditions of '89, and then that was incredibly long and drawn out, and then they had a class of, Bob, do you remember, were you part of the 200 kids that you whittled down?
I don't think so.
You don't?
I don't think I was part of that.
The casting folks, they whittled them down. And I want to say I was in the last 30 or 40 kids, and they invited those kids who weren't cast as cast members to be extras on the pilot. And I was an extra on the pilot. And I do also remember that Howard DeRoe, who went by Tony Dinetti, Howie D from the Backstreet Boys, was in the pilot. And I often wondered what happened to that whole group of kids. Like Tyler Jenkins played Walter. Alex's name was Kevin, and I can't remember what it was, but a couple of little things changed. But I remember a lot of the folks from growing up in that era in the audition scene, and there was a lot of locals.
Was anyone who was in the pilot in the series? I don't remember. I don't think so. I think we completely recast it.
Mike was.
Yeah, that was odd because I know we shot the pilot, I think in April of '90, so the auditions were earlier in the year, and I know it was hard to find just a sufficient talent pool of kids or the young folks. But there were a lot of adults doing commercial shoots and other things in the area already. So I did the first read. It was just like me in front of a camera. It was like almost like a home setup. You know, we're going to put you in the basement in front of this one camera, and here's the script, and go for it. And then they had a callback. And because I was working Disney, I was working at the Pleasure Island complex at night. And so I was going from like 5 until about 1 in the morning. And so I overslept for the callback. I just wrote it down. It was the days before cell phones and everything took notes for you. And so I just wrote it down, and I woke up at like 9:30 or something, and the callback was at 10. And I was just so panicked. I called my agent. I said, if I'm late, don't, just apologize. Tell them I'll be right there. And I came flying into that room. I was hyperventilating, sweating, and they were just like, what's the problem?
Perfect for the principal character.
Yeah.
Well, also back then, there was no digital audition. It was all in-person auditions. So it was a completely different animal back then, which made it actually a lot more fun because you got to hear the laughter that was coming from everybody that was auditioning you. And the whole casting process was done in Nickelodeon backlot. I think even part of it took place in the trailers that were back there, maybe. But it was a fun process. And it was a pretty quick process. I think I found out within 3 weeks that I was booked on the show after auditioning for it. And it was a pure joy for me because both of the characters I were playing were just really cartoonish and fun, and got to interact with the kids in a manner that was just brutal, which was just a blast. Yeah, the kids were a blast. I had a great relationship with the entire cast. I mean, I really, in fact, we did, I don't know if you guys remember, but I pulled this little photo out of when you helped us with the juvenile diabetes walk as well. So I don't know if you can see that, but you guys all came out for, I was the host of the juvenile diabetes walk, and the cast came out and supported us for that. And that was a blast when we did that as well. So we did a little good with the cast as well.
That was one of my first faux pas. That I can't remember what it was. There was like a jacket that we all signed, and there was a raffle, and I won it, and I kept the jacket.
There you go. There you go.
Oh no.
That's all right. That's right. Do you still have it?
Why? Yes,
Yeah.
Of course I have it.
There you go.
Now, Jason, you were in one episode, but do you remember, again, it's been a while, obviously, but do you remember how you got involved with the one episode?
Basically, I lived about 90 minutes away from Orlando and Disney. So basically, my audition thing was basically going back and forth between Disney and Nickelodeon, constantly just ping-balling back and forth, driving 90 minutes, going in for like a minute for your audition, and then driving 90 minutes back home, or at the time being driven by my mom. But I don't know who the regular casting director was for Nickelodeon, but when I did my audition, Adam Weissman, who directed my episode, was basically doing the casting. And and I remember what got me the job was since Glen Craven's very smarmy, and one of the lines was like something like, "Looks great on those college apps," and like I did this thing about like hitting the arm, and he just like loved that. And by the time he's like, you'll know soon. We're having to cast this really fast. And back in the days before the cell phone, I stopped at a gas station and called my mom, and found out I got the part. And every time I drive past that gas station where the phone used to be, I remember that.
Cool. Mike Rubiner, how did you get involved with the show?
I helped to grow up a block away from Bob. That's really the answer. And to be best friends as kids. No, I was living in New York and I was working in journalism actually, but I really wanted to get into TV, and Bob was really the person who helped me get my first kind of little jobs in TV, and then he hired me. I did a couple freelance episodes from New York on Freshmen, and they went well, and he and Tim decided to hire me as a writer. So I moved down to Orlando for a while, and as the series progressed, because we were pretty like bare bones kind of production staff, I just kind of learned on the job and rose to be one of the producers on the show. So, being involved in all the aspects of the show. So for me, it was like this amazing TV school.
Mike Rubiner was the funniest person I knew, and I had to get him on the show. I took him away from like a very respectable career working at the New Yorker, very prestigious, to do a Welcome Freshmen. But he's never looked back. Mike, he's too modest to tell you, but he is currently the showrunner of a very successful animated series, The Loud House, which you've been doing for what, 10 years or so, Mike?
Yes, 10 years, and hopefully still running. We'll see.
You got to start. It's all thanks to me.
I was just going to ask about the Merv-U-Mentery format. Like, when in the process did you understand that you were going to be doing these, talking to the camera sort of documentary sketches?
Yeah, I think Bob and Tim kind of explained that very early on. I mean, it was definitely in the first script. I really didn't know much about news forecast, for the format, and then I'm pretty sure they realized I was, close to tone deaf when because I used to, sing or hum the Flight of the Valkyries theme song. And I think about halfway through season 1, they switched to actually playing it. So they probably coughed up some coin to, to get the rights to that because I was so terrible at humming it. But it was a pretty early on. I actually kind of enjoyed those little segments. It was kind of fun just talking directly to the camera. That was something I enjoyed.
So the format of the entire show changed between seasons 2 and 3. Bob, could you speak a little bit to the reasons why that happened and format and all that? I see Rick is like, yes, why?
I could tell you, I could make up a bunch of things, but the truth is, we just wanted to. The sketch format was really, it was really hard to tell like so many little stories in a half hour. And Tim Hill and I thought, like, let's see if we can get them to let us just tell one story in a half hour. We thought that it would enable the audience to connect with the characters more and become kind of more invested in the show. And we presented to Nickelodeon as like that was our plan, and they were like, I don't care. Just like, just don't go over budget, and and make sure that there's something for people to see on the tour, and they were fine with it. And it was like, I think it was a great decision. I think the show got a lot better, and it was really I know it's funny. It's no show is like, I don't think a show has really ever done that before. It's, maybe like The Simpsons, I guess, for shorts and then became a series. But we're just like, it was just so like poorly managed that they just let us do it because we
they gave you creative freedom. It wasn't poorly managed. They gave you creative freedom.
I mean, at the same time, they were dealing with like, Clarissa Explains It All was in the studio at the same time, and that was like, a very full-time job for them to manage. The creator of the show was very demanding, and they were just happy that like we weren't giving them problems. It was just like, all right, go do it, be good, we love you. That was nice. It was nice that they had the confidence to let us do it, and and I just loved it.
I'm going to piggyback a little on what Tracy was saying earlier about how much he had enjoyed his time working with the kids. Mike Speller, what was it like being the quote unquote adult of the only adult in the show? I mean, I know that there was the secretary, but what was it like?
Miss Petruga,
what was it like working with a mostly child cast?
The first couple seasons, it was like Bob was saying, it was so many things, so rapid fire that I don't think we really developed relationships on camera. It was more during idle times off camera. So we got to know each other pretty casually, but we also didn't mesh schedule wise because of that kind of rapid fire format. So like they did some mall sequences and some other things like that, where the adults were totally off, the adult actors. So, I mean, I was very amenable to all the kids. I really liked working with everybody. And we had, I think, a great rapport. There was like that give and take. It wasn't like you were giving each other line readings. I wasn't like the dad on stage or, the Olivier trying to get the new kids in. We were all working toward a common theme, and that was just to have fun. And I really appreciated that about them because I mean, at that point, I hadn't really worked in the education field, even though that was my degree, and hadn't really worked a kids show before. This was my first episodic thing ever. So I was just a sponge for everything. So I wanted to learn from them, and I wanted to learn about the set and the writing and all that stuff. So I was going with the flow, basically. And I really got a kick out of it. I mean, understandably, we had a lot of, like I said, adult talent coming in. So more of those extended scenes, especially in the last two seasons, I had relationships with those guys through Disney. And so we had a lot of things going on at that point, on and off camera. But the kids matured well. The show matured well. That's why I'm here. I really wanted to thank everybody for all the efforts that they made and making me feel welcome and just helping me have a good time.
You're the best, Mike.
Yeah.
I miss the shit out of you, man.
Yeah.
Such a good human being. You were the best and still are, I'm sure.
Well, I of course was cut after season 2 as the show shifted and changed from sketch to more of the long form sort of continual storyline. But I thoroughly enjoyed the 2 seasons that I did I think I did 18 total episodes or something along that line. Had a blast. And again, built a relationship both with Rob and Mike. I remember having chats with you guys all the time on the sidelines and, listening to writer's notes as you two were chatting about what was working and what wasn't working, particularly as either during a read or during a rehearsal. And then dealing with Scott and Tim on set as directors. And they were both great. Just the vibe on set was always fun, creative, positive, open. Everybody was just embracing everybody else's performance, and it was just a blast. And again, like Mike said, it was my first episodic. I had just come back down to Florida from Chicago after being working with Second City for a few years, and it was just nice to get my feet wet into that whole realm. And this was the perfect way to do that. This was a great cast and a great creative crew. The crew itself, the production crew, was fantastic as well. And I went on afterwards to do a lot of producing and directing and casting after the fact. And many of them I've worked with over the years from then on. So it's been continual relationships built from relationships that I started on this show. So again, thanks to all of you for that.
Rick and Jocelyn, the two of you, I think, are the only ones that are here that were in both formats of the show. What was that like, transitioning from one format to the other?
We were just kids, so we'll do whatever you want. We're just happy to have a place to go to and have fun, much like Tracy was saying. The air in that place was intoxicating. It was such a great place to be. And even at our age, we would, to refer to Tracy again, in between takes, we would go talk to Bob and Tim and really have, we
were like, get out of here, we're busy.
Yeah, right. Well, I will say in the later seasons, a lot of the staff moved up to the second floor in control, and there was a lot of voice of gods coming down. Yeah, a little less intimate, if you will. But, we were just there. I enjoyed the changes. I was happy to do whatever they threw at me, to be frank.
I guess another pretty standard question, which we hate to ask, but people always like to know, including us, as silly as the question is. But do you have any favorite episodes, favorite moments within the show that you get to be part of?
I think it was in the very first episode of season 1. I think it was the one with like the rad clothes or something like that, where I am doing a Merv-U-Mentery, or I'm mixing beakers up and I blow up and I come out and I'm like all stumbling around, there's smoke coming off, and people are like, dude, rad clothes, man, like, 'cause they're all shredded. And I kind of just melt away. And I was like, dude, this is fun. And then obviously Merv and the mystery meet, because we get to play rock stars.
I was going to ask about that. I'm sure that you have set up.
I'm trying to remember. There was one, I can't remember the segment we went back, but I remember talking, I think, with Bob or Tim. And I was like, hey, we're wearing this costume, and it was probably like Victorian or something. And I'm like, how'd you feel about me like wearing some Argyle socks? And I don't know if anyone ever saw it, but I was just like wearing like regular Argyle socks, like maybe a caveman outfit or something like that. And I think I kind of snuck it in. I'm not sure if it even got picked up on camera, but I just thought that was kind of funny. But those were always fun segments to do. Because you got to, for me, I got to get out of the nerd character and into a costume kind of that like everyone was kind of similar on equal footing. So like, okay, cool. I'm not the nerd in this scene necessarily, So in my mind, at least.
And Arian and Brock, I know we had mentioned it in one of our previous episodes, but what was it like for the two of you coming on to the show in season 3 and being the newbies?
Well, Welcome Freshmen, being at Nickelodeon was my first job, like literally ever, my first job. And Rick said it best when he said it was just this magical atmosphere, electric. I don't remember the adjective he used, but it was incredible. I felt like I had to pinch myself. I couldn't believe it was real, that I was actually on a TV show, that I was, considered one of them, that I had this full-time gig. I left high school, like my whole life completely changed. So personally, it was just an amazing experience. I still sometimes can't believe that it was real. I felt very welcomed. The whole environment was, electric. Is that the adjective you used?
I think I said intoxicating.
The whole atmosphere was very, very welcoming. So much energy, so much fun. It was like we took it very seriously what we were doing, because there was this expectation that you needed to be excellent, but that you should have a lot of fun while you were doing it. So they wanted you to work really hard. And, I really wanted to work really hard and make sure I was doing everything right. But it was easy to be there. Like, it was just an easy place to be, and everyone was really fun to be around. We got to, like Rick was saying, chat with all of the grown-ups on breaks, and they just made us feel like we were part of the family. Even though the cast that had been there before had to undergo this big change, and some of their cast members were no longer part of that new format, we never felt like we were, or I didn't ever feel like I was, stepping on toes or coming into something where I didn't belong. Like, I felt like I belonged there. And that was really because of the way they were. They were just such amazing people. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah, agreed. It was also intimidating as all get out just to get started. While unlike Arian, it wasn't my first job, because I was 16, right? So I had worked at like Taco Bell, and it was very, like, there was a smell in the studio that was like, it's I'll never forget it, because I'm very, like, that's how I have memories, is through scent. And so, like, the hallways, the dressing rooms, the studio itself, like, it was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. Also very welcoming, as Arian said. It was very strange to me that there was a whole table full of snacks that you could go, like, have a donut, have a cookie, like, have a drink. Like, this is amazing. This is, for a teenage boy, this is like kind of like heaven. And serious for sure. Like, we had work to do, and everybody's counting on you to say your lines right. And if you don't do it, like, you're burning tape, and you've, wasted a lot of people's time. And there's people in the gallery looking at you. It's a lot for a teenager to be on our shoulders, but at the same time, so much fun too. Like, I remember maybe one of the rap tapes, just throughout one of the episodes, we would be running behind. I think it was kind of a common thing. Like, so we're running behind, we're behind on schedule. So we did this thing where it was like, they did this song where it's like, we're so far behind. Hey, we're so far behind. Hey, and everybody's dancing. Bob's dancing. Like, it's the boom operators up there, like, shimmying, like, so that was really the family aspect of it. I think was just like, we're behind. So let's, like, do the best we can. Let's catch up, right? But still enjoy while we're here, And there's times when I feel like I got to apologize to all these folks, because I was an angsty teenager, and certainly I probably pissed you guys off at some point or another, whether my castmates or my superiors, right? Like, Brock. Oh, excuse me.
You're fine.
But, it's all right.
But at the same time, I really appreciated it and felt welcomed. And in retrospect, I think I appreciate it so much more than I did at the time. Right? Like, when it's in progress, you're just like Arian, I can't believe I'm here. This is surreal. This is like, it feels like, and it was so long ago, it feels like maybe it was somebody else, honestly. But it's just really, I feel so blessed to see all your faces, and this is really cool.
Piggybacking on what they were saying, one of the reasons I emailed Alex was because I found my script, the rehearsal script, and I found the shooting schedule. And in my memory, I came in and we did the table read, and then I went home, came back, and I don't know if we shot for 2 days or whatever, but it was so fast. It was like we had a camera rehearsal, and I don't know if it was the same day, but we were shooting the show. So I was just curious, what was the shooting schedule like? Because, like, to me, it was just like, it just seemed like the turnaround was really fast.
Well, I remember it being very fast. I mean, we would come in the day before or a couple of days before for costume fitting and table read. And then we'd show up shoot day and rock and roll through every one of the scenes, and I had a severe costume change from Roach to Rochelle. So, they would get me all padded up, and I would just go shoot with the gals for that second set, which was a lot of fun too. So, but it was fast. It was a fast day, fast shoot day. And of course the kids, they had to be very, following child labor laws, making sure that the kids weren't worked too many hours. So, that was always an issue as well, making sure that the kids got their breaks and everything else. The adults, they could work as hard as they wanted to, but the kids, they needed to make sure they got their breaks in. So.
You guys were in school too, right? The kids, you were tutored on set?
So season 1, Mondays and Tuesdays we had off. And then we'd go out and do rehearsals Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So you get picked up right from school, drive out to Universal. For me, it's like a 45-minute drive, maybe a little longer. And then we, do lines or blocking, read-throughs, etc. And then I'd get home maybe at like 9:15, 9:30, and I would literally try to guess which teachers would collect homework the next day, because I still had to memorize lines and I had to do homework. And then we'd film all day Saturday and Sunday. And I guess there were certain rules about how long we could be on set, because I remember a couple of times they were like, hey, you guys got to go, like you've been here too long kind of thing, maybe child labor rules. Season 2, we filmed all day Sunday, Monday. So to make up for missing school on Monday, we had to do, we had a tutor who came in on Saturdays and would work with us in a classroom type setting. And this lady was unbelievable. She spoke like 3 or 4 languages, taught multiple subjects. On top of that, she was deaf and she could read lips.
Wow.
Wow. Next level. However, because she was deaf and we're actors and we're teens, whoever she's sitting in front of and talking to, whoever she couldn't see, obviously we're saying terrible things to try to make the other person break. So that was the experience. But yeah, she was incredible. But that was how, basically season 2 went for us.
I stayed enrolled in normal school, and I would go Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. When we first started, we would have rehearsals on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think in the afternoons, and then we would film all day Thursday and Friday. Then it switched to like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday afternoon rehearsals with school or filming on Saturday and Sunday. And then we moved to on set and we got a little more rehearsal time, but it was 1 episode in 5 days. That was it. Full rehearsal period, full filming. That was the timeline.
That's what I remember too, Jocelyn. It was, we'd leave high school. I went to regular school too. I think we were tutored for a tad bit right in the beginning, but then it was after school going Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then filming on Saturdays and Sundays, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the same thing with season 3 and 4, and we had on-location education in the little trailer there. And I remember Chris Loban sleeping on his desk. You guys remember that? He would just curl up on his tiny little desk and sleep.
Hey, those hours counted. He was in school.
I'm pretty sure Chris did that on set once or twice as well. So.
Yeah, I think he was a chronic napper.
Yeah. He's a night stalker. What are you talking about?
It was Billy Cushman that would always shake him and wake him up. So.
Was there a moment while filming where you realized that this was really resonating, like a fan interaction or feedback that you got?
We used to go into the park on our breaks, and the people in the Universal Studios just came right up to us. I mean, it was so just, oh my gosh, these people know who we are. It was like, It's incredible. And I mean, it was, I don't know. I do remember people coming up to us in the park going, oh my gosh, you guys are from the Nickelodeon show. And I mean, it was neat.
It was neat. It was an interesting time too. I mean, we would go into the park and not only would there be a limited amount of people that would recognize or know who we were, but the people who worked there knew, because there was a little bit of a buzz around. And I think Joey and Steve Fatone were pushing parts around. I mean, they had day jobs there, weekend jobs there when they were super young. And, there was just like a lot of people that were in that area. Dr. Phillips is right across the street. People were, there was a buzz about it. It was Hollywood East with both the studios at play. So there's a lot of people who knew what was going on there. It was definitely a bubble.
I was going to say, so one of my biggest memories at this point, I was in 10th grade. So this would have been after at least first or second season had come out. And at my high school, I was part of Model Student Senate, and we had a trip to Washington, D.C. It was a group of me and like 4 of my high school classmates. And I remember we were doing kind of tours, but DC, everybody in 6th grade goes to DC on a school trip. That's like the standard. And the target audience, if I'm not mistaken, Bob, the target audience for this show was really kids getting ready to go into their freshman year. So like 5th and 6th graders were 5th, 6th, 7th, kind of 8th graders, like a big target audience. And we were in the basement of the Supreme Court, and I was just there being a student with my friends. And there was a couple of groups of students and their parents, and there was all this whispering, like, is she the girl from Welcome Freshmen? Is that all the whispering? And I was gonna just ignore it, but my lovely high school friends were like, yeah, that's her. And I just remember all of a sudden I was like blinded by this group of, it felt like thousands. It was probably like 50 or 30 kids. And this is before iPhone. So kids and parents with their cameras with flashes, like vintage cameras with flashes, like taking pictures, and me just kind of standing there being like, oh my God, this is like really happening. Like people know our show, know who we are. And so it was very cool and startling and very memorable.
Fast forward, and I'm probably 18, 19 years old. I had literally grown my hair out kind of long back when I could grow hair. I had dark glasses on, a goatee, and I'm at a pool with a bunch of buddies. I remember a girl who couldn't have been more than like 12 from like the 5th floor of the hotel, bothering down to the pool going, oh my God, it's Merv. And I'm like, how? Like, I had a hat, glasses, like, how did you put those together? And I was like, I don't know. Some people just have that photographic recognition. It blew me away.
I know we took you brought up DC. I know we took a promotion trip to Washington, like mid-season 3. And it was part of a big confab with other celebrities from the channel there. But I know the host of the evening was Linda Ellerby, who was like a big late night news host at that time for NBC. And so my bizarre adult logical thinking was, well, of course, she's going to cover this story on her next broadcast, and then we'll expand our audience and create a long-term series that will live on through their senior years. And nothing like that ever happened. So I was like, hope's dashed, but I got to meet Linda.
Speaking of Mike Speller, did you ever have anybody that recognized you as Mr. Lippman?
I still do. It was, I think, like second in the third season, because I was, like I said, I was working Disney at night, and like the second into the third season, we'd have a couple people in the club that would kind of pull me aside at the Adventures Club on Pleasure Island. And so they would pull me aside and say, are you this guy? Because you really look like this guy. But there I have to use other voices and become other people. And so they didn't know for sure. But yeah, it was like that third season starting out. I got a few of the overlaps, a few of the recognitions there, which was nice.
Jason, because we had mentioned previously about the season 3 cast joining in on the already existing cast, what was it like being, it was only one episode, but what was it like being on set with these guys?
It felt like being literally like the first day of school and not knowing anyone or that was my first and only episodic television. I was basically aging out when I shot that. I was 19, and so part of the whole when MGM Studios was opening up, and then Nickelodeon. That was like the trying to get work for those like 4 or 5 years, just ping ponging back and forth between studios and trying to get work. And so, yeah, this was kind of like my last chance. And so got it in under the wire, I guess.
You did a great job. You left it all on the stage.
Gonna switch over to Mike Rubiner for a sec. We are very firm believers in the lifeblood of any TV show is within the writing, because the actors bring the characters to life, but it starts in writing. What was it like? What were some of the challenges that you had writing for this show?
For me, the first challenge was I had no idea what I was doing. It was my first, half-hour TV show that I'd ever worked on. I'd written some shorts for their Nickelodeon things, and I think there was they had that like sort of comedy news show that they did that I would write jokes for. But I came down to Orlando and really just learned from Bob and Tim like how to write stories and how to write comedy. It was like a very fast crash course. But I think that Bob and Tim and I kind of had the same sensibility, I think, about growing up and about how we kind of felt about school and what we thought was funny and ridiculous about it. So it was really fun to like share that sensibility and try to, make a comedy out of it. And yeah, I think that was the most fun part for me.
You guys rocked it. I thought it was just a really original concept, a very avant-garde for that time frame, that time period. And, I thought you guys were rocking it.
One of the challenges, was that, doing 13 episodes in a season, was kind of too much for, any like 1 or 2 or 3 people to write. We had to use freelance writers some of whom got the show better than others. And under the time pressure that we were under, it's like, okay, we finished shooting and now it's into the next one. And it's like, where's the script? It's like, oh God, we can't shoot this. And I mean, I wish he could have been here with us. Tim Hill, God bless him, would just sort of roll up his sleeves and sit down and just make it work. He's an amazingly gifted writer, him and Mike. And it was so much pressure to just have something that we felt we could shoot. And I feel like, we always did. So
yeah, I'd want to say that too, like sing Tim's praises, because Tim was kind of like, I think, a bit of a writing and story guru to me and Bob. We were just kind of awed by his talent and his knowledge, and we both learned so much from Tim. But I do remember too, like Bob was saying, like going out to lunch from the writer's room and being like, oh my God, we have nothing. Like we can't leave this lunch until we have a story, because we have 2 days to write a script. There was always a lot of time pressure. It was a pretty lean and mean kind of operation, so we just had to like really crank it out. But I think we all wanted it to be to a certain standard and wanted it to be, to really hold up and to hold up against everything else that was on Nickelodeon. I think we did. I think we succeeded in that.
Absolutely. You guys, thank you for never letting us feel that way.
I want to know. Oh, the pain started. What was it, Bob, that you always said? Oh, the pain, or?
All right. Oh no!
Oh, the back of
You can't see it.
You can't see it.
Let's do it, Bob. Try it again.
Dr. Smith.
Oh, the
Put it over your shirt. Put it over your
Is that
chest.
Lost in Space?
Yeah, it was from Dr. Smith on Lost in Space. So it's like, oh, the pain.
The other Bob expression I remember in Orlando was when we'd be just, in a jam or something, or just trying to get through a problem. Bob would say at night, like we'd be going out to dinner, and he'd say, "Pray for dawn." Another Bob.
I have another question based on that, on what tagging on what you're talking about. Because one of the reasons, I said before why I emailed Alex, I found my rehearsal script and I was looking through it, and a lot of the my dialogue, a lot of the dialogue had changed. I don't know why I don't have the actually shooting script with, the changes in it, but that was between the table read and shooting. There wasn't that long of a period of time. So what was the process of was it the table read and then you'd go and switch things up, deciding it then? And would it be the original writer or would it be people from the writer's room?
The writer's room was me, Mike, and Tim. I mean, there was no one else.
I was just going to ask, how big was the writer's room? So
we had another writer in for a time too, who I want to give a shout out.
Jed, yeah.
Jed Spingard, who was also kind of just starting out his career and was just really talented and funny, and went on to be the creator of the Thundermans, which is still running on Nickelodeon. So he was a great part of our team too.
The process was basically a lot of late nights and a lot of wine. It was just whatever we figured out worked or didn't work in the table read, I mean, even if things worked, we'd always wanted to make them better, and I mean, I think Mike talked about it earlier, just about the sensibility. It's we just kind of wanted to make each other laugh, and if we weren't laughing, we didn't think anybody else would. So, the drunker we got, the funnier it got. So I guess that was good.
So I guess here's a more specific question, because in the sketches you have the gym teacher, you have Coach Roach and Coach Rochelle, and then you have the homeroom announcements with Mr. Lippman stand up. But where did Mortis the safety tortoise come in? How did that come about?
That was from the actor. I think his name was Mark Sardo, and he had been in a sketch comedy group with Tim Hill, and we just basically, he did this funny voice, and we just sort of created the character to, because we wanted to watch the costume, and I don't know, it was just kind of I think that was all Tim.
That's one of my favorite lines I still use when I'm in a work situation. It's like, why does every sketch have to end in my personal humiliation?
Who was the fella, Bob, who clickety clack with the train, and he was mildly
that was Jay.
psychotic.
That was the guidance counselor, Jay.
The guidance counselor.
He was crazy hilarious. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that guy was great.
Jay Martell.
Martell, that's him.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean, he was he grew up with Tim, actually, so they had that sort of shared childhood experience, and they had been in the sketch comedy group together with this other guy, and so yeah, Jay became a pretty integral part of our team. He would come down, sort of pay his own way and come sleep on our floor, and just hang out with us. Yeah, because we couldn't really afford to travel people. But he was just into it, and he was hilarious.
I like the way I'm hearing some grassroots creativity, because I've been involved in production ever since, and bringing people along and just figuring out how to do it, even if somebody's just, like you said, just taking it on themselves to even get there, is I think it's part of the process that makes the process good.
I absolutely love all these questions and hearing these stories, but we do have to take ourselves a little. It's lunchtime and we got to go to recess, so we're gonna, because freshmen need recess. We miss that stuff, but especially lunch with the craft services. Everybody's got to go take a break, so we're gonna hit pause for a sec, and we're gonna go check out what's going on in the world of Splat Attack, and we'll be back in just a little bit, so stick around.
Well, just walking these halls brings back memories when I was just a freshman. I remember one day when I went,
actually, I remember when I got your lunch money and spent it at the arcade.
Oh, this is embarrassing. While I try to figure a way out, why don't you watch this?
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Splat Attack. If you like what you see, be kind and hit that like button, hit that bell, and the subscribe button so you can help us grow our awesome community and reach even more 90s kids and Nickelodeon fans.
Like what you're hearing and seeing and want to support us? Join our Patreon. We have live streams twice a month, as well as exclusive bonus minisodes, and we even let our patrons pick episode topics and submit questions for our celebrity guests. Go and visit our Patreon over at patreon.com/splatattack and become a part of our amazing Gakwoid community today.
Want to show off your 90s style? Head on over to bonfire.com/store/Splat Attack store with hyphens in between to get your Splat Attack and 90s Nick merch so you can be cool for school. Get your stylish Splat Attack swag on demand once again at bonfire.com/store/Splat Attack store with hyphens in between.
Zabagabee Slimesters! Join us next time when the Krista crew is scheduled to visit the studio to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Space Cases. You can catch all the galactic action only here on Splat Attack.
Well, looks like I'm still in here, and I'm missing the award ceremony. But, oh well, let's get back to the episode. I hope someone can get me out of here.
Ding! Class is now in session. We're back. I'm excited. I've been excited. I've smiled this entire episode. My face kind of hurts already. But one of the things that I liked about Welcome Freshmen, among the many things, but there were a couple celebrity cameos. One in particular, but also there were some before they were famous sort of people. So I actually want to start with Shanice. How did you guys get Shanice?
Well, Nick Talent, they would always sort of like, they had these relationships with, music acts and, people in LA and stuff like that. And, they always wanted to get their up and coming artists into shows, and somehow somebody had the idea to let's put somebody on Welcome Freshmen and let's make it Shanice. And it was it was kind of a bit of a fish out of water, I think. But, I really don't remember, I'd forgotten that she had been on the show until you just brought it up. But I don't know. Was it good?
It was very good.
Yes.
So
that's when Arian premiered her song. Did you write that yourself, right? No?
No, the character.
The character did.
But, I want to say about the writers and just, all the grown-ups in the room, they taught me so much about what to do and how to do it. And their humor was so spot on and I was just so young that I didn't get a lot of it. So they would help me understand why things were funny. And, they just taught me so much. Oh my goodness, they are the reason why I started understanding why things were funny. Anyway, I just owe that all to Dave and to Bob and Tim. They really leveled up my humor game for sure. But with Shanice, yes. So the character Erin, right? She was a closet songwriter, and so they let me record, and I do love to sing, and I am personally a songwriter anyway, IRL in real life. So, and they knew that I could hold a tune for the most part. So they let me record this song, and I was so nervous. But they taught me how to, that was the first time I'd ever been in a recording studio. And they taught me how to how far away to be from the microphone and use the little headphones. It just was also official, so that was so much fun. And Shanice was so sweet and so down to earth, and she wasn't like a diva. She didn't make us feel like we were less than. I mean, it was really cool. Like we were saying before, we signed autographs. I personally signed autographs anytime I went out in public for several years, and that was an incredible part of my life, feeling like a celebrity. But when we were there, we were just us, we were just a family. We were just friends. We were just freshmen. Shanice was a real celebrity, so we all knew that song, the hit that came, it was a hit song that year in the early 90s.
Smile.
Yeah.
I love it. Your smile.
So, it was wonderful. That was a really fun episode. That was really cool. It probably was more like let's promo this up and coming, singer. So I get the marketing of it, but she was wonderful.
One of my favorite offset memories with all of you was with Shanice. We went out to lunch. We had this big cast van. And I think we literally went to McDonald's. So you talk about down to earth, right? And like the Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre song, 1, 2, 3 into the foe came on in the van, and we're rocking out to this song with Shanice in the van, like going to McDonald's. I mean, like, can you just like snapshot, like remember that?
Brock, I have a picture of us in the van. Literally.
Really?
That's awesome.
Please send me that. When Jason was talking about his script earlier and like not having the actual show copy, I was about to say you need to hit Arian up because I guarantee you she's got it. She and Rick have like all the things. Like they save all the stickers and the clothes.
I have Bob in my office. He has a very heartwarming photo that he gave me. I think he gave us all the same photo for Christmas, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was that special, Bob?
What photo are you talking about? I have no idea.
Yeah, I think you do.
Was the name of the team or the mascot for the school like the Chicken Hawks or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, I have in my car somewhere a Chicken Hawks T-shirt. Yeah, which is pretty awesome.
I have the original Hawthorne High. I have the big piece of wood. I have the prop in my home. I think if you watch the last podcast, I think I had it up. Did I have it up on the last one?
Yes.
You sure did.
Yeah. I'm a hoarder. Horrible hoarder. I have all of the scripts. They smell like garage. It's amazing.
I actually had another question for Rick. I guess I feel like you would be the one to answer. There is, I believe, one episode. If you look in the background and you'll find Jonathan Mangum. And I was going to say, I believe you had mentioned that the two of you were good friends. Did you know each other prior to Welcome Freshmen, or did you meet?
No, I want to say Wayne Brady was a day player and John Mangum were both day players. And then Tracy invited me to go do improv with them, comedy sports. So before Wayne Brady was improv pinnacle, me, Tracy, and John and we did a night at the Disney Dolphin. And Michael Jackson was in the building, and so was Charles Barkley. It was a wild time, but we did
a movie.
Yeah, no, I sometimes I tell stories to people that are close to me, and they go, "That's bullshit." Like, oh, that's bullshit. But literally, Michael Jackson was there. Yeah, John Mangum. If you had to put that, I always felt John Mangum was the funny one in the group. He's just a wonderful, funny guy. We didn't really become friends or anything like that, but we've kept in touch over Facebook, and kept up with Tracy the same way, kind of thing. But the memories that we shared are so potent.
Didn't Jonathan Mangum play somebody named Mr. X? He like had test scores, and he would like stick out of the locker and hand a test with a grade on it.
I want to say he was even in season 2 in that Merv-U-Mentery where there was a spy.
Yes. Yeah, he was in a couple of episodes. He and Wayne and Dave Russell, they were part of SAC Theater, which was like the resident company in downtown Orlando for improv. So like I said, all those adults in that area, they auditioned all the time. And so we had a really good comedic core coming in for day players all the time.
Yeah, so SAC Theater was how I ended up connected to Jennifer, who was the casting director at the time for at least season 3. And because it's too long of a story, but because I had met her at SAC Theater, my mother, who was an entertainer professionally, she was connected to SAC Theater. And so when I was 13 years old, I met John Mangum and Wayne Brady and Dave Russell and like the whole, all the McCrarys, I like everybody. And so that's how I ended up getting invited to audition for Freshmen, which was already a well-known show at the time. So I was ecstatic. And it was because of the time I had spent at SAC Theater. So yeah, we were very, very fortunate in Orlando to have, like Mike said, access to and be connected to so much talent, you know, in our area. It was perfect.
Yeah, and production was blowing up. There was tens of productions, which is a lot. I'm not going to say there was hundreds.
Wow, the freshman vocab speaks up.
Tens.
Passenger 57 on their resume.
Yep.
The extra work on the movies that we did in that era.
One of the things that we 90s Nick kids loved about the network was seeing the cast of so many shows integrated in other shows. And several of you were part of other Nickelodeon game shows, especially. What was some of those experiences like for those of you who got to do that?
Yeah, I got to do two. I got to do the Sega Superstar Kids Challenge. I got to do Super Sloppy Double Dare. And there was one other one that I was asked to host, and it wasn't a game show, but it was like something to do with space and science, and it was kind of
Launchpad, Launchbox.
Okay,
Launchbox.
Yeah, I got to do one of those. Very last, kind of last minute, and I think I had cue cards for that whole thing because it was like literally like a kind of a last minute thing. Probably couldn't get the original person. I was probably a fill-in at the last minute, or maybe fifth on the list. But I remember doing that one. But Super Sloppy Double Dare was a blast. The one thing that stands out to me was I never realized. You know, I watched it for years as a kid. Right, watched it. I'm like, oh, those guys could do better. And what you don't realize is like all the tread in your shoes gets completely filled with the slime and whipped cream, and you have no traction. So you're just like, you're running like a cartoon character in place. You're like, why aren't I going anywhere? So it just, everything slowed down. You're like, wait a minute, it was a blast. I just didn't realize it was harder than it looked, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay, first of all, I always wanted the crossover episode with Clarissa or somebody else. Never achieved that. But I know I think we were on Double Dare, we were on Launchbox, and there was something else too. Double Dare was a hoot. That was like a physical challenge that I would not undertake at this time. But back then, I had an insurance and all those other things that would probably let me do it. But yeah, it was fun. It was really great crowd atmosphere because it was a live taping. And Mark Summers was really amenable and very gracious. Yeah, it was nice to have that literally like across the hall too. So you didn't have to feel like you're going out of the way or it's like extra work. It was just like, okay, we're going on another playground today.
Mm-hmm. And you were also on an episode of Nick Arcade.
Yes. I think I won that match actually. I want to say I
won.
With
the green screen? Yeah.
Now, Mike, we all did both, right? We all did both, I think, with Mark Summers, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all did. And Billy Cushman was even on one of the games with us.
Yeah. And he farted.
I don't remember that.
The yellow team now has control of Mikey. Move him, please. Ooh, Rick, gosh. Still, go ahead and move him, man. Gosh, move him fast, man. Go ahead.
So I was just saying, I couldn't remember if Jill and I were on Double Dare. I remember I was on an episode of Double Dare with Melissa Joan Hart from Clarissa Explains It All with two other girl contestants, and it was boys against girls, and I think it might have been Dave Rhoden and then the guy who played Sam Ferguson on Clarissa Explains It All on Double Dare.
Sean O'Connor.
Sean O'Neill.
Yeah.
Sean O'Neill.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. And then Chris and I were on an episode of Get the Picture, I believe. And then you said Launchbox, which wasn't a game show, but I actually have like that Launchbox episode converted from VHS to DVD. So it's pretty hilarious. I've watched it in the last decade. Mike Speller's face.
That's the Star Trek takeoff, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Next gen.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was lucky enough to join Mark Summers as Coach Rochelle. So I was in full Rochelle garb and got completely slimed in full Rochelle garb and almost fell on my ass during that taping because the slime was so slippery on those acrylic floors that it was insane. But then I went on to do, I don't know, 6 or 7 episodes on Slime Time Live with Dave and Jonah and what was her name? Jennifer, the young lady who was also the host there. So I did different characters on that, and it was always a blast, you know. But going from show to show happened with a lot of us adult actors, except for Mike Speller. But no, a lot of us adult actors just were able to bounce because we were very severely wardrobed characters that could easily be swapped out into different things. So I ended up doing Noah Knows Best and a couple other different things, Cousin Skeeter, and a couple other things that were on Nickelodeon as well. But always a good time. But this cast was always the family cast for me. So yeah.
Did anybody do Super Sloppy Celebrity Double Dare with the NBA players with me? I can't remember who was with me, but I know like Tree Rollins and Manute Bull were there.
I don't remember that, Rick, but I do remember we went to the NBA All-Star Stand School Jam as
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I remember it was really cool because we got on the
amazing. Got to hang out with like Heavy D.
That was
awesome.
We were literally on
it was a good time.
the court, weren't we? They had us right out on the court. Yeah.
Courtside.
Oh, that's so awesome. There was a celebration for the 100th episode filmed at Nickelodeon Studios, which was an episode of Wienerville, but there was a lot of the Welcome Freshmen cast in the audience for it. Do you guys remember anything about that experience?
Forgive me for not knowing his name. Who was the host of Wienerville? Was he an older guy? He's an adult at the time?
Mark Wiener, and yes, he was an adult.
Okay. I remember him on a break running up and shaking my hand and being like, something to the effect of, "Oh man, you're so great. I love watching you." And I was like, no way, I was like, I was starstruck in a way that I hadn't been before, just because it was professional. He went out of his way to do that. And I was very appreciative. I never got a chance to tell him like, hey, that meant so much, or, thank you. The fact that anyone even knew who I was, period, was like a shocker to me. But that's something that stands out. I couldn't tell you about the episode. I couldn't tell you anything else because that, blinded everything else to the experience.
Hey, I have a question if I can. This is mostly, I think, for Rick and Jocelyn, but maybe some of those will remember too. The show, everybody was pretty well behaved. We never had like a whiff of scandal. It was always just like, we weren't like, these other shows. But then 15 came to town. And I remember I just kept getting called into meetings, like where like the producer of that show was just like enraged about like my kids, and it's like what's the real story there? Like what happened?
It was definitely Chris. No, I think what happened was there was an air of us being told not to fraternize with them that made us want to definitely do that. So there were boy and girl groups from their side, and they had chaperones or whatever they were, and they would leave. And they were there around the time that Chris and I started driving. So literally, I think it started with the boys' van taking the same path to my home that I was taking, and I realized where they lived. So I could just stop by there and say hi. So I think it started with that, and then Chris needing to know where also the girl's house was, and then us stopping by and saying hi. And hi.
First and foremost, and I have wanted to say this, all of you, from the beginning of this podcast. As a young woman on this show, I feel incredibly fortunate and incredibly honored and privileged that we did not have any of the scandal. I think this is really important, a really, really important message that we felt, and I hope that Arian and Jill agree with me, I felt 1000% safe, respected, honored. Like, I think in this climate, and it's interesting, like I do a lot of work with, I do a lot of work with women's economic empowerment now, and I didn't even know that it was something that I should feel grateful for, but I'm looking at this screen, at this group of, don't take this the wrong way, white men. You guys treated us so well and respectfully, and you've seen what has been on the news. I just have to say it. We were so fortunate in so many ways to have been a part of this team where we could be creative and funny and safe, and never once in my entire time in the 4 years, 52 episodes that I was on that show, did I ever feel unsafe or like, I just have to beat that hammer home, because it was truly a very great experience. And I hope you've heard that and seen that, but I think it's really important to hit that home. Like, we were so fortunate, and I am so grateful to all of you. And I just want you to know that.
Jocelyn, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it was family. All of the production, everyone took care of us, took us under their wing. You hear the horror stories out there, and we had nothing. We were so fortunate. Everything was just, I don't know. It was just
so fortunate for that. And I will echo Rick. Rick is spot on. We were the bad kids. Deserved or not, we were not bad kids at all, but like, yeah, the cast of 15 was like completely overprotected, and they just wanted to have fun. And guess what, guys? We were fun, and they wanted to hang out with us because we were like a freedom from their little prison. So I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Again, nailed it. I mean, that's exactly how I feel too. And I wouldn't have come up with that on my own. But now that you say that, that's exactly all the girls, even on 15, they just wanted to let loose a little bit. And yeah.
I want to piggyback just for a sec from the experience that I've had doing the show and the people that I've got to interview with, what you were talking about, Jocelyn. There's a lot of nasty that has been talked about with the world of Nickelodeon, and 90s kind of get roped into it a little bit. And I mean, it is a little bit. Most of all that stuff is in the 2000s, whenever it was a whole different regime at that time. I have had the great opportunity to speak with a lot of people who worked on Nickelodeon in the mid 90s and earlier, and they all have echoed exactly what you have talked about, Jocelyn, with keeping the kids feeling safe, a creative, fun work environment. It was work, but it was fun, and keeping, again, integrity, which I think was a big part of when Geraldine Laybourne was head of Nickelodeon at the time. So that makes me very happy to hear. So thank you for sharing that.
I did like one episode too of the Mickey Mouse Club before the studios even opened, and those kids were already had attitudes because of the way they were. I mean, it was just the way the relationships, I guess, with the adults or whatever. But it would be hard for a lot of kids, I think, to not let that probably go to their heads or whatever. But I never got that. The kids, I guess, I mean, I was just a little bit older, but there was none of that kind of, the way that the staff and everything treated them. It was more like family, and it was more like people on the same level, or even like teasing back and forth or whatever. But it was very they treated the kids differently. They weren't kind of like spoiled, I guess you could say. Like that. I was there once, but my impression was, and the ones that
but you were elsewhere as well, so for sure. And I think Nickelodeon Studios at Universal Studios Florida was one of those places that they did a lot of great hiring. I'm in production still. It's really who you hire and who you involve in your productions that really make things matter. And if you just look at what people have gone on to do from that era and from our show specifically, is a great testament to the talent that we had from, the back office all the way in front of the lens.
Every department was great. I mean, art department, Mark Simon and the guys there were all great. They were all dynamite to work with.
Right down to the lighting guys, the Timber Boys. I mean, you name it. We had some really, really talented folks surrounding us.
And then for me, just goofing around and playing, like where we, the guys who do all the props, dude, so talented. But if you can just imagine an area with every kind of knick-knack gadget, cool thing, for creativity, it was there in the prop area, and that was really cool. Oh, and the other place, makeup, because makeup was right on the side of a window, and people come by on the tour, and you're getting like poked and made up. And we always talked about the zit pencil because you're in 9th grade, and they'd hit you with the zit, with the pencil, and you're going, that's not my zit, that hurts, So zit pencil, I remember that.
Rick, didn't we call Phil, was our production assistant Phil? Didn't we call him Dad, right?
So I was very fortunate to, after freshman, was able to work on a lot of different film and television thereafter. And everything that I worked on, I compared it to my time at Nickelodeon. And I've done a lot of stuff over the years, and what they are saying is true, from the art department to the way they ran props, the way everything was like a well-oiled machine, even though it was like fun and silly and so laid back, and we weren't arrogant about what we were doing. It was just everyone was working together as a team. And I was able to compare every other production I ever was a part of to that experience. And let me tell you, Nickelodeon and Welcome Freshmen in particular was top notch.
I remember some specific people like Paul Tarasio, Nicole Gabay, Abby Ginsberg, Pam Ginsberg, Randy Kaczynski. You guys, there's so many great folks.
Yeah, you have a good memory.
I was just going to say,
bouncing around in
Yeah, well done.
I'm literally 50, Bob.
I'm not friends with Paul Tarasio, and I don't even remember his name. So.
To wrap up the interview with you guys, just a broad collective, do you have any favorite memories of doing the show?
We filmed at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. So on a break, and it might be a 15-minute break, Chris and I would sprint out into the theme park, sprint across the lot, go to the arcade, play as many video games as we could, and we never got back on time. Not once, I don't think. But having Universal as your backyard for a segment of your life was pretty crazy. But I do remember us always sneaking in because we had our badges, so going in and out for that was a blast. And then every now and then you'd have the tours going over, so kind of interacting with them on occasion, seeing the sound rooms and the editing rooms. It's kind of cool.
One of them was always working with the kids on set, just getting into the gym or getting into the scenarios that we would get into, and watching them try to hold a straight face while we were getting through all this comic dialogue and all this crazy brutality that the coach was putting them through. So that was always fun for me. And then just offset, just being able to chat with them and have a relationship with them offset was always a lot of fun. One particular thing comes to mind, though, as also a fun memory, was one of the rap parties. I believe it was on the paddle ship on St. John. They selected me to sing "Like a Virgin" karaoke style for everybody, which was just joyful and fun. So that was, but the rap parties were great. We had one rap party backstage at Nickelodeon and the other one on the paddle boat out on the St. John's, and they were both a blast too. So just overall, my memories of everything with the show is fantastic.
Tracy, now that you mentioned that, so I was going to say that rap party after the first season, and we all didn't know where it was going. And I remember we were all on the dance floor. You had just sang or something, and Bob said, we're going for another one. And we were like, oh my gosh. I ended up captaining that boat years later. So it just came like full circle. But also the memories of Coach Roach, Coach Rochelle, and all the mystery histories. That for me was, those are my favorite.
I just remembered this episode we did. I don't remember what it was about. I'd have to try to find it again. But it was like there was some crazy chase scene that Mr. Lippman was in. I don't remember who was chasing.
In the Volkswagen thing.
And the jet ski. And we put Paul Tortoise in a bald wig. He was our stuntman.
So number one, I think it was third season or maybe the middle of the last season. We were shooting during the summer, and my birthday is then. And I don't know who did it. It was somebody in the crew or somebody in the cast, but they got a custom-made cake with my face on it. We took a break.
Just raised her hand.
Took a break from the shoot. We took like a 90-minute or 2-hour break from shooting just to have the cake and sit down in the little boo-boo bleachers and celebrate. And it was such a cool little special personal touch. Really appreciated that. I'm going to shout out to Janice Benson. Long may she wait. She was a really great start to the day when we did our Lippman scenes, because it was usually in the morning. And
it was a sweetheart.
Yeah. She was a sweetheart. And she was a great foil, and just appreciated her a lot. Wish I could have said it more when she was around. And then finally, the craft services, man, like Brock said, it was like hog freaking heaven. I'm surprised I didn't weigh 380 at the end of those shoot weeks, but it was gloriously done.
Well, I think that was so special what Mike just said, not just about Janice, obviously, but the cake, I had forgotten about that. And while it was not my idea, Mike, so I'm certainly not taking credit, my mother, whom my friends here all called Mama K, and still refer to her as Mama K, and may she rest in peace, or long may she wait. I like the way you said that, Mike. She made that cake. She handmade that cake. She was incredibly talented in so many ways, but she did that for you. And I hope somewhere I have a picture of that, and I'm pretty sure I do. But yeah, my mom made that cake. I totally forgot about it.
What did you take from your experience on Welcome Freshmen that you carried with you through the rest of your career or rest of your life?
Well, I think there's a few things kind of race to the top. I think one, you have to be careful what you say to who, especially nowadays. One of the lessons I learned was, I think three of us were backstage one day kind of talking smack about something we were pissed about. And, afterwards, in a very adult conversation, but it was a mentoring moment. I think it was Bob Mittenthal was like, hey, just so you know, you guys are mic'd up. We hear everything you say. And he didn't do it in a chastising way. He didn't do it in a belittling way. It was a mentorship moment. And the way he talked to me one-on-one, I'll never forget that. I think it was Bob who told me that. And man, there's so many ways I could have gone, right? I could have been fired. It could have been this or that. But he really, it sunk in on that particular moment. I think also, in hindsight, I don't think I was grateful enough for the opportunity I had in the moment, right? At a certain point, you get comfortable with it, then it becomes a job. But you have to take a pause and step back and realize, hey, you've got a great job. You got people who drive you around. You got people who bring you food. You got people who dress you, do your makeup and hair when you have it. And so I think you just have to take a pause sometimes and be grateful for what you have when you're in it. And just look at it from the outside sometimes. I think that's something that can stick with you. And then I'll never forget, there's one other moment where it was an episode we filmed at Dr. Phillips High, and it was outside. My uncle had passed away, like literally, I think the day before, or I think it was the day before. And for whatever reason, I just didn't memorize my lines that day. And they ended up having to do cue cards, and I'd never done cue cards ever. And I was so upset with myself that I felt like I had dropped my own standard, that I'm like, dude, I can't do that. I have to be prepared. So when it comes to work, I try to really be buttoned up and ready to go. But that was a moment where I kind of let myself down. Nobody else, and I'd always try to be as few takes as possible. One of the things that one of the ladies that told me one time, she was a producer, I can't remember her name right now, was she came up to me one time and said, Dave, we love you in editing because you do the exact same thing the same way every time. So when we have to cut something together, it's like seamless. I didn't know that was a thing. I know a lot of actors will try different takes, right? And for me, from as far as gestures go, I was very, I guess, consistent. And so, again, I think I just lowered my own standard and disappointed myself for that one time when I had to do, other than the other, what was the show you talked about? Launching pad, right?
Yeah.
Again, that was Launchpad.
Lunchbox. I keep saying Launchpad too.
That's what I said at first too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is like, that was the only way to play it, right? You had to show up because you didn't get a script prior. But when you have a script, it's on you to be ready and responsible. And I feel like that was another moment where I kind of disappointed myself.
I have to shoot this out to Mike Speller again. So I remember, well, first of all, some of my favorite memories were table reads and dressing rooms, hanging out with, everyone. Those were some of the best times. But one very silly thing I took away, I remember we were shooting in the hallway. It was a very long day. We were so far behind. And I said under my breath or out loud, or I said to Mike, I was like, "Ugh, what time is it? How far away is lunch?" That kind of thing. And he goes, No, don't tell me. And I'm like, what? He's like, we should never ask what time, or he didn't say you should. He said, I don't like to know what time it is while I'm working. And I'm like, why? He's like, because then you're not in the moment, and and then you're thinking about how long it's going to be till you have lunch or leave for the day. He's like, I don't like to know what time it is, so don't tell me. And I was like, that is brilliant. And literally, Mike, I have to tell you, I have never forgotten that, and I still do that. If someone around me says, what time is it? And I'm trying to work, I'm like, don't tell me. I don't want to know. You taught me that.
So I wonder, because when Bob was telling his stories about the wine-fueled writing parties, I feel like we were listened to in some instances, and maybe sometimes concepts would be incorporated into scripts that might resonate with us more as individuals, because there was an episode that was a rap episode. I think it might have been the Shooting for the Stars. Yep, and Rick did that in it, and that was particularly fun for me because that was one of the things that definitely Rick and Chris and I, and certainly to some extent Arian and Jocelyn too, I think connected on was hip hop, was rap music. And it was big in general in the 90s. It was really becoming very popular. But there was an episode and it was like this talent show. And we got to put on all of these crazy, streetwear brands, right? And go out on the stage and do this like rap thing. And that was just really particularly fun, and I'll never forget that. And as far as something that another memory that's outside of the set, and I'm glad Arian brought up her lovely mother, because I was hired as a local, so I actually would commute up once a week and stay, and I lived with Arian and her mom and her sister. I just have so many memories. That was kind of like, we were family in the studio, but this was the family at home, right? The home in Orlando, and just the characters that would come and go from there, some involved with the show, some not. And just the talent. Arian understated it when she said, I sing a little bit, I can carry a note. She like literally taught herself how to play piano by ear. Like, and, you know, those of you who have had the pleasure of spending some time with her, like, her songs are amazing, right? So, and that was a characteristic of that family and that household. I mean, Mama Kay, like, her comedic timing was second to none, like, just brilliant human being. So that's definitely a big memory. And as far as something I've taken away from the show, I kind of alluded to it earlier, is just enjoying being in the moment, because this point in my life and our lives just came and went so quickly, right? And when you're in the middle of it, it felt like a lot, and it didn't feel fast. But in retrospect, it was like a blink. And I've done many, many jobs since then, and not one of them has been nearly as fun. So I think just being in the moment, appreciating, now that I'm a father, like, enjoying the time with my children, like, allowing myself, you know, to connect with that inner child. So I think Welcome Freshmen, Nickelodeon, all of you wonderful people taught me that.
Yeah, I felt there was a very strong sense of first of all, respect amongst everybody, but a sense of ensemble as well. Everybody felt like an equal when we were there working. You know, it was just a real sense of a tight ensemble, which was kind of strange because it was a sketch show, so we were busted up, you know, between scenes, but there was still a sense of ensemble. Even though I didn't work a whole lot with Mike, he was still part of my ensemble, and I felt very close to him, you know. So there was just a sense across the broad spectrum of the show, I think, that everybody felt that way.
Just on the question of what I took away from it, I think for me it was how fun it is to collaborate with people on making a show. You know, it was my first TV show. I'd come from being a journalist, like I said before, and it was a completely new world to me, and just how cool it was to like hang out with the writers and crack each other up and write these scripts and bring them down to you guys and hear the table read and hear all the great comedy you guys brought to it and talking to you guys about the parts and then shooting it. It was just, it was a blast. Like, I really love the collaborative aspect of this work. And I'm thankful that, like, from freshman on, I've been able to keep doing this in various other shows. So I'm really thankful for this show for turning me on to that.
That's cool. I echo that. I think my main takeaway is you should always have fun at work. When whatever you're doing, try to have fun. It's hard, but that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I've got two, literal and a figurative. So the figurative one is, like Rick was saying, is, you know, professionally and personally, my Nick experience set the bar. Like Arian was saying, is, you know, I did commercial shoots elsewhere and some other stuff elsewhere, and there's just no comparison between the community that we got there, and still quality standards were maintained and professionalism was there and all of that. So yeah, it really set a standard for me. And in the personal sense, the literal sense, I had friends all over the crew, and two of them were in post-production, and they put together my first video reel, my first commercial reel for me, free of charge at the end of our run. And Karen Powell, and I want to say their gal's name was Laura Brunette, but they love the Ramones, and so the Ramones ended up on a couple of the rap tapes. But they did me a huge favor, got me a good foot in the door when I moved out of Florida and came up to Chicago into the commercial market here. So again, It's who you know, and I'm glad to know all of you.
Well, that, I think, is going to be it as far as the main questions go for the cast and crew of Welcome Freshmen. But we do have a closing segment, as we always do, and we want to have these guys included this time. So, Splat Stanley, what segment we got, bud?
Good to have the freshmen here, all ready to play a game. Time to spin the wheel. Oh, can't wait to see.
Tuned in is the segment that we're doing.
Tuned in. Alrighty, well, you guys heard the stick of Splat. We are doing Tuned In, which is our music-based segment. And with the cast of Welcome Freshmen, the idea here is if you could pick a song that just reminds you of that time period or your experience working on Welcome Freshmen, anything like that, if you had to pick a song, what would it be?
I have three answers, right? So obviously one, Mystery Meat, right? And Merv and the Mystery Meat, that was a blast. Two, a little backstory, I didn't have cable television growing up, so I had no idea what MTV was. So they actually recorded like hours of MTV for me to go home and watch. And then when we were in our sets, but our dressing rooms, we had obviously cable TV there, and we could watch it. So for me, two songs that stood out from that era, Metallica's Enter Sandman, because dude, that was awesome. And then the other one was Chris Isaac's Wicked Game. If you can imagine a pubescent boy in 9th grade watching that video, you're just like, oh my gosh, sexiest video hands down in the world. Coming of age kind of video is all I can say.
I'm going to say Reformer by Snow, because we spent our time, and it might have been the earlier seasons, but we spent our time memorizing. Jill, I'm looking at you. We spent our time memorizing.
I know.
I'm memorizing the lyrics to that song. So Reformer, you know that one.
Licky Boom Boom Down.
In the green room, they had I guess they always had MTV running. So the song that I associate is "Cool Like That" by Diggable Planets, because it was playing in the green room this one time, and so like now I associate that song with my gig, my once gig.
I got two. So you got to do "I Love Your Smile" for sure, and then "A Hard Day's Night" by the Beatles, because that was on one of it was a rap tape or something. It was on some piece.
It was the final rap tape, I think.
Yep.
And it was very sentimental. I'll go with Mystery Meat.
I was waiting for that one.
I'll go with Love You Like a Lobster.
Oh,
Yeah, back then for me it was I was kind of into Michael Jackson back then, so Black or White was really big, one of those years, and that was a hot music video. I really enjoyed that, and I liked Shiny Happy People too. I thought that was a really cool tune back then, so those would be the two that I'd probably say kind of hit home with me back then.
I'm going to have to pick, this one's kind of sentimental, and some of the guys will know what I mean, but I would have to say Thank You by Led Zeppelin. There was a mixtape, a little real old school vintage cassette tape that one of our friends, one of Brock's really good friends that we ended up becoming family with because, he lived with us and would come back and forth. This dude made, he's our brother. I shouldn't call him this dude. Isaac, our very dear friend, made a mixtape. We would listen to it when we would go, anytime we would go back and forth from where Brock lived back to Orlando. And on that tape was Thank You by Led Zeppelin. And every time I hear it, I think of this era of my life. So, and the lyrics are perfect for, how close we all were and how much we still love each other and how that will never, ever go away.
I had to Google. I was hoping Chris would be on here because we carpooled a lot, and I'm trying to remember what his mom played in the vehicle. But
hang on. He did give me his song submissions, so hang on. Let me see what he told. I had to pick 2 songs because there was Us on Camera, and then there was Us. Graduation by Vitamin C and Smells Like Teen Spirit were the 2 songs that he picked.
Okay, so it's Nirvana, but I swear his mom used to play Marvin Gaye. She'd take us to the studios, and I swear I remember it was Marvin Gaye she'd always have playing, but I'll have to ask him about that. But definitely Nirvana, so yeah.
You know, this was a tough one for me. I couldn't think of like a song I really associated with it, but I had to also Google like what was on the radio back then. I think the one that kind of popped for me of like just felt like that era and being in Florida at that era was Life is a Highway. Remember that song? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that feel.
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything off stage that I can pick. The rap tapes had such a bounce for me. They're like a touchstone for me. So Hard Day's Night, like Brock was saying, and Rock and Roll High School from the Ramones.
No, the show's theme song went hard. That's an awesome theme song.
That was this friend of mine. He was a director that I hadn't really worked with him that much before, but I knew he was just like a rocker, and I thought he had the right attitude for it. And I just, he was in a band with a bunch of friends of mine. I asked him to like write a song, and he did. He was like he recorded it I think like the original was on a cassette. It was so totally garage band, but it just like he completely captured the attitude that I wanted the show to have, which I think Nickelodeon hated it. I think they felt like it was way too hard.
I love it.
Come on. That's one of my favorites.
Great.
Yeah, brought in all the Nirvana fans to our group,
Yeah.
Did I say his name? His name is Peter Lauer. He's gone on to have a good career as a TV director. Incredibly talented guy.
Well, I think that will wrap it up for the evening. Again, a very big thank you to all of you for taking the time and jumping on for a couple hours with us and sharing with us your stories and memories. Part of why we do this is we want to try to paint the whole picture of what Nickelodeon was like and try to preserve as much of this history as we can, because so much of it is disappearing, and to say it means a lot. I cannot say it enough. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for being interested in our stories and our misgotten youth.
And thanks for bringing us all back together. It was great to see everybody. Yeah,
it's my pleasure.
Wonderful reunion.
Yeah. Thank you,
Keep
Alex.
up the great work. We're going to keep supporting and listening to you guys. So,
well, thank you all for being a positive part of my childhood. So,
great to see you all. Be well.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
It was good to see everybody. Wow. What a treat.
Take care, all.
Class is now officially over, and while it was great fun, I think everyone's starting to get on the bus and head home. But before we close out the episode, we do have a closing question for all of you Slimesters. And our closing question for you is, what are some of your favorite high school memories? You can write to us via email at splatattack2021@gmail.com. DM us on all of our socials. Just look for Splat Attack Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. The button's right there. Just a clickety-click. Interact with us wherever you can. We're always happy to hear from you. But until our next episode, our next major reunion episode, again, Kat, will you help me clean up the studio, please? We need to scrape the gum off the bottom of these desks before Mr. Lippman notices it.
Ew. Aye, co-captain. But, I was just talking to Merv in the science lab. I mean, maybe we can create a solvent that can
No. Please just do it the old-fashioned way. We can't risk any more lab explosions.
Explosions? Me? I mean, when have I ever... yeah. It is kind of a theme, isn't it? Ugh, fine. Scrapey to scrape. Splat you later, Slimesters.
Bye. It's all in one piece this time. This episode was recorded at Splat Attack Studios and Virtual Home Studios, though none in Florida.